We are live from the National Press Club. This is being streamed. It's called Cancer News Worth Sharing. And we wanted to have this discussion with this panel here because, of course, we're all in this fight together. We're all working towards a cure. But we all come from different backgrounds. We have different experiences. And it's more to emphasize the fact that every little thing that each of us in this room and each of us at home are doing is working towards the mission of NFCR, of working to find that cure. So I want to introduce my panel. We have Katie Gray. She is NFCR's Youth Ambassador. So she's going to tell a little bit of her story in a moment. We have Hope Stewart, a cancer survivor and also a community outreach ambassador with NFCR. And we have Linda Basak, a community outreach ambassador as well with NFCR. And I think one of Dr. Ba's newest friends. We're going to hear that story in a little bit. And then, I mean, the man at the end really needs no introduction, right? Dr. James Allison, the 2014 St. George Prize winner and the 2018 Nobel Prize winner. So thank you all for being a part of this. Katie, I want to start with you. It's very rare to see a young person out here speaking so openly about cancer and the fight against cancer. What was your first... how did you first become involved with NFCR?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think about 3 years ago, my grandmother passed away from stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And that was kind of the moment, it was during the peak of COVID, it was kind of when I realized like I couldn't just sit there and do nothing. And I think especially for younger generations like my own, it's really normalized for cancer and cancer research to kind of be a taboo topic. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's a scary subject for people to bring up. And I think the more awareness we bring to it, the more we talk about it, the more we do, the easier it becomes, and the easier it becomes to do things like this where we can help each other and help our community and be able to find the cure to things. So I think my start was with my grandmother, and through kind of research of different foundations, NFCR was the one that had the most interaction with people my age and the most that I could do rather than just donating money or finding people to donate money. I've been able to kind of interact with people hands-on to help be a part of this community and help NFCR.
I think that's what's most important is that NFCR is an incredible resource for anybody, whether
Absolutely.
you know a lot or a little, right, about cancer, and especially coming as a caregiver and probably didn't know a lot about cancer itself, and you know you're living your teenage life. It wasn't something you expected. What kind of resource was NFCR for you?
So I think not kind of knowing, seeing my grandmother in that phase where she was like in the prime of her battle with cancer is like a very hard thing to see at such a young age, or at any age for that matter. It's a very hard thing to see. And having the resource of NFCR to kind of figure out, to be in touch with people directly and have the website, have everything to be able to figure out what actually was going on, what I could do to help directly, how I could find those resources to be able to help those around me and kind of raise awareness for it, be able to actually help,
right.
And then also just know what's actually going on, be able to understand what's going on.
Yeah, that's definitely important in anybody's case. Thank you. We're going to come back to you in a bit. Hope, I want to go to you. You're a cancer survivor, thriver. This personally has touched you with breast cancer. But how did you come involved with NFCR, and just what is the message that you put out into the community that you think is most important?
Well, as you mentioned, May 2002, I was diagnosed with invasive ductal HER2-positive cancer, which, you know, is a fancy way of saying breast cancer. And it was a shock to me. I had no family history. I had no symptoms. And there's a fundraiser my mom attends every year. It's called Daffodils and Diamonds. Mm-hmm. And who in this crowd attends Daffodils and Diamonds? I'd like to hear, yeah. Woo-hoo.
I do.
Wonderful. It was a wonderful fundraiser. I'd never been, and my mom said, listen, you really need to go because I've heard these wonderful things from this organization, these amazing breakthroughs. And so I went there, and I met Dr. Ba, and I got involved. And I just wish I'd known about this organization sooner. I really didn't. And I think it really would have helped me at the time. I was most scared and most terrified. I was overwhelmed, and I just needed to find the right information. And one of my friends said to me, and this gave me comfort, she said, every day about 1,000 breakthroughs are made in cancer research. Now, this might be an overstatement, and you all probably know that statistic better than me, but the comfort came from knowing that there are people like you who dedicate your lives to saving my life.
Thank you very much. Well, and I know too, as somebody that's gone through this twice, and it was a span of 7 years, just how much and how quickly advancements are happening. I may not understand much of what these brilliant brains in this room, the scientists, are saying, but I know that they're working for us and they're working for you, and just going back and going through it again, just seeing how far we've come in such a short amount of time. Obviously, we're working towards that cure, but finding those medicines, finding those treatments, it helps, the patients like us and the patients like your loved ones really either have an easier time or prolonged life. So thank you for sharing that. Linda, yes. I love this story because you just met Dr. Ba a week ago.
I sure did.
How did this happen?
So I'm a dance fitness instructor at One Life Fitness, which is a gym chain, a local gym chain. And we just did a fundraiser for the foundation last Saturday. And Dr. Ba attended my class, my dance class. And my class is, my purpose in my class is to infuse the community with positivity, positive vibes, very important. And so she attended my class. I guess she liked what she saw, and she felt the vibes, and she invited me to become an ambassador for the foundation right there and then. And she asked me to attend, and this was very personal to me because my father passed away from colon cancer this past May. And before he died of cancer, his cancer happened, we discovered it really at the last minute. Within 6 days after we had discovered his cancer, he had died. He went into emergency surgery, and he survived 3 days after that. Before he passed away, I was aware of cancer research, and I knew how important it was. We did several fundraisers at the gym for cancer and other causes, but once he died of cancer, it became super personal to me. My awareness increased 1,000-fold, and every word that I said while I was promoting the fundraiser was 1,000,000 times more meaningful than it was before, and it made me realize that what's personal to me today was personal to my neighbor yesterday, will be personal to my friend tomorrow. So it means that it's not a me or her or his or their issue, it's a us issue, it's a community issue. And now that there's cancer history in my family, now I have to get checked every couple of years, and now my daughters, I have 2 girls, one is 19, one is 20. I'm sorry, 18 and 20.
Don't rush it. Don't rush it.
Don't rush it. Now I had to talk to them about it as well. So it became a generational issue, and we added one layer on top of that. And another layer I added on top of it that brought my awareness even more to the fore is my dad died in Africa, in Cameroon. And the surgery that was performed on him, we talked to doctors that were here. If he had had the surgery performed here, he would have survived. So third world countries don't have the resources and the infrastructure and the technologies that developed countries have. So the issue becomes global, and we all know that. So that gave me just the courage and the determination to talk about cancer research and how important it is to find a cure for cancer.
Very much so. Thank you, Linda. And we know how blessed we are to have the medical system that we have in this country and the access to the treatments, and especially up in this area specifically. We're very blessed up here, but knowing that the goal is to eradicate cancer worldwide, and when there is a lot of work to do there.
Absolutely.
So thank you. Dr. Allison, are you enjoying your evening?
Very much so.
Good to see you down there. So we know your research has led to life-saving treatments for people that otherwise had very little hope. But I know just as important as the research to you are your patients, right? And I know you really try and get out of the lab and really go and talk to the patients. Do you have a story or a moment that you can share with us of what really put into perspective the work that you all do?
Well, I don't really see patients. I'm a researcher.
But you've seen those that have received your medicine, right?
But the thing that I learned was, of course, I had experienced cancer through my family. Also, my mother, both my uncles, my brother, and more recently myself. But I really wanted to do something about it. Did the work, but it was mice, mostly. And then finally we got into the clinic, and it started being people. But while the trials started, when they just first started, I just saw reports. I saw numbers. I saw, statistics and stuff. And I hadn't really met a patient. And one day, Jed Walchuk, when I was at Sloan Kettering at the time, Jed called me and said, "Come down to the outpatient clinic." And I said, "Why? I'm busy." And he said, "Well, come on down here." I said, "Okay." So I walked. It was about 4 blocks or so away. Anyway, I walked into this room, and it was him actually, and a couple of people standing inside, but a very tall woman, and she came over and just hugged me and lifted me. I mean, I thought she was going to break a rib. I mean, it was amazing how. And Jed told me that she had just been declared cancer-free after metastatic melanoma, and then I learned her story. She was 22 years old in 2003, I think, and she, got winded. She was an athlete. She couldn't. Anyway, got tired. So she went to see her doctor, and long and short, they diagnosed her with metastatic melanoma. She had 31 mets in her lungs. She had 20 or so in her liver. She had 1 in her brain. Was a bad case, and she failed. Jed put her on chemo, and it didn't work. Another chemo, it didn't work. Radiation therapy. She has this photo she showed me later of when she's getting the radiation. She got this it looks like a torture one on her head, with the radiation. Anyway, none of that worked, and finally they said, "We got this new drug, ipilimumab. It's never been used before. It's being tested now in the clinic." I mean, some people had gotten it, but it was very early. Anyway, and she said, they told her it's either it's a few weeks, you got hospice, or we can try this if you want, but there's no guarantee. And anyway, said that she'd left and then come back, and they had seen shrinkage in a previous check, but this one was the second check. And actually, she was tumor-free. And Jed also told me later, he said when she came in, and he called for the pathologist, the radiologist, to tell him what the film showed. The guy said, "There must be a mistake because I can't find any cancer. It's the wrong patient." And they checked it all, the numbers and all that stuff, and it was her, and there was not any cancer detectable. And so that's when it really hit home to me. Like, this is hope. This is real.
This is real. The work that you do, that all of you do, is really working, and you guys are still friends to this day.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm walking back to the lab, though. I have to share this. I was thinking stupid thoughts, some of them, but one of them was, "Gee, I've cured a lot of mice, but they bite me and pee on me anyway when I pick them up." Of course, I gave them the cancer in the first place, so maybe maybe I deserved it. But anyway, no, Sharon and I became really good friends, and she was 24 by then. I mean, through all this, it was, and I actually asked her to be my guest in Stockholm when I went for the Nobel Prize, so she accompanied me there, and we've stayed in touch. She actually got married. She was divorced, and then got married again. She has 2 children now who are, by now, last I saw them, they were both in junior high school. Yeah. Now they're finishing high school, but a few years ago, she was getting married for a second time and asked me to marry her, so I went and got a divinity degree online, and did so.
And the rest is history, right?
But anyway, it's Sharon and I have quite a bond with her. And after that, I met many other patients.
Yeah.
But it just brought back my mother and my brother and all the people that I'd known that sort of, I guess, just all wrapped up in her being the first patient. And
that's incredible.
Anyway, it's.
And she's one of many patients that all of the doctors have helped, and all of you have helped. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Alice. I appreciate that. And that's more the stories that, we want to hear. Some may not understand exactly what's happening, but knowing that there's hope out there, right, for whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
Katie, what do you see when you talk to people your age? You know, I mean, I remember, you're in college and you're a teenager and you think nothing can happen to you, right? And for many of us, I remember when I was diagnosed at 27, we knew of cancer, but like, I didn't know anybody that had it, right? I didn't even know my grandmother had it at that point. It wasn't something that was talked about. So what are you finding when you actually just kind of put it out there and break down those barriers of communication?
Yeah, I think especially for people my age, the younger kind of generation, it's something that you talk about, and there is that sense of like, oh, we're invincible. Like, that's not going to happen to us until it does happen, or it happens to someone you love, and then it really hits home. And after that, you realize maybe you're not so invincible. And so I think realizing the fact that it's not just a rare thing that occurs. Like, unfortunately, we live in a world where this is happening to people. And I think that's part of the importance of talking about it and bringing this awareness to it, is that we have to come to realize that this is something that's important and that this is something that we all need to help out in order to find the cures, find what we need to find and be a part of this kind of
So
movement.
I have to say, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I have to say, since you found out about your grandmother and you started kind of helping to raise awareness, how much money have you raised through all your efforts?
So I've been working with NFCR the past 3 years and 10 days, to be exact. But I've raised a little over, I think, $18,000.
Had to put that out there because that's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible, Katie. Thank you. Hope, as somebody that's gone through it physically, personally, what kind of helped you through that journey? And just kind of, you and I both did proton radiation, which was newer for breast cancer treatments at the time when we were doing it. And we had to fight for it, right? We had to fight the insurance company for it. But what kind of helped you, and what have you really learned going through this journey of like the little steps that you can take to help others be aware and help all of us kind of continue that fight?
Well, the one thing that really helped me, and we're here tonight, and we have the scientists, the researchers, the donors, the advocates, the investors, and we're here talking to, advocates and caregivers and survivors. But the group that we don't talk about a lot are the nurses. And the nurses are really the ones who I think saved my life and got me through this. And they're the ones that we really need to think about when we're putting our efforts into these cures, because I think every patient that's saved from this disease kind of gives these nurses a reason for understanding why their sleepless nights, their hard work, their daily sacrifices are worthwhile. And I think that's important. And the other thing I think is just from a personal level, they talk about bravery, they talk about fighters. And I think that every single person who starts this journey will never realize how strong or brave they are. And that's what I tell people when they come to me and they say, do you have any advice? And I'm saying, you will never know how brave you are or realize how brave you are, because that moment you get that message through my chart or that call from your doctor, and you have to answer that call or you have to check that message in my chart that tells you the results, that's bravery, and that's what's going to get you through this.
I love that. We're all much stronger than we are. And I know too, with even the researchers, like you come up against walls, you come up against frustrations, and sometimes you just want to be like, why is this so difficult? And I just want to give up, and you don't. And that's what makes you come out on the other side stronger, healthier, with a big breakthrough. It's really a lot of brave people in this room for sure.
It is, and the researchers, the reason that you do it is that so when we do get that diagnosis, we know, okay, we've got this, and now we'll hit the next hurdle and the next one, and we will get through this because there are people who are making sure that we will get there.
Well, and I know we're talking about being a community and each of us doing our part, right? And I think it's not about, it's wonderful to raise the much needed funds. It's wonderful to speak out. It's wonderful, but even just calling a cancer patient, calling somebody that's going through it, each of us taking those little bitty steps is continuing this push forward and continuing us to work as a community. I know some people get overwhelmed sometimes of like, I can't hold a fundraiser, or it's just not their personality, it's not their type, it makes them nervous. or even just to talk about it, but just to even learn, go to the NFCR website and just learn a little bit of something about the breakthroughs we've had, really continues to push our mission forward. And Linda, we were talking, you talked about how now you have to have this conversation with your kids. And I know the three of us were talking earlier about, Hope, you were saying a story of a little girl saw you with cancer and was like, oh, I hope I don't get cancer. And the mom being like, oh, don't worry, don't worry. We need to change that conversation and be like, if you do, you'll be okay, right? We need to, how are you speaking with your children about it?
Well, just because this cancer was such a surprise in our family. And just knowing that grandpa went through it makes it really real, right? And that it happens to every family. We all know somebody who's been touched some kind of way by cancer, directly or indirectly. So it's really common nowadays. So it's not like the big bad bear anymore. It's something that's around us all the time. So and the fact that there's researchers out there doing this great work to try to find a cure makes it less scary. So that's how I approached it with my kids.
It's amazing. And Dr. Allison, I want to end with you. You've spent years researching, working, getting these breakthroughs, but what keeps you motivated when you get up against that wall or what you thought might work didn't quite work? What can you share with us to kind of...
Well, it's a little complicated. I mean, I lost family members, and at the same time, since I was about 13 or 14, I knew I wanted to be a scientist. I knew I wanted to get it. My father wanted me to go to medical school, but when I started college, I just decided I wanted to be in biological science and stuff. So I was trained in biochemistry, but I heard about the immune system. The T cells had just been discovered, actually, about the time I was in graduate school. This is 67 or so, and I heard about these cells that go through the body, and I thought, well, and so
there's something there.
And my professor couldn't tell me anything about them. I said, how does they work? How do they recognize stuff? How do they get turned on? What do they do? And he said, I don't think they even exist. I think they're just macrophages that have picked up an antibody molecule, So, but anyway, I just said, that's what I'm going to do. So when I finished school, I quit. I kept doing biochemistry, but I went to an immunology lab to learn it. And then that was in the early 70s, and still try to solve T cells mysteries. But I kept going with that, with the idea of doing something in cancer is the long goal, but the shorter goals, the day-to-day goals, were to learn more about it. How does it work? Because I figured unless we know how, if we figure out how they work, then we can get them to do what we want and guide them a little bit. And if we don't know how they work, we're helpless. So I just wanted to understand them. And so, I mean, it's a combination of those things. The desire to know how something works, but also if I get this right, it may take a while, but maybe I can figure out something that I can use to treat cancer.
And you figured it out. We're grateful. We're grateful for you and everybody that continues to do that research, and grateful for all of you ladies too. Again, cancer is going to affect each of us some way or another. That's the honest truth. And so we just need to be ready for it, whether it's through education, through advocacy, whichever way. So really, we just want to encourage all of you to continue helping us, to find that cure. But call a neighbor that has just been diagnosed, offer to help in some way, reach out to a local organization, or just do your own, research on it. That is helping. But we just appreciate all of you being here with us tonight. And thank you to our panelists for a great discussion. Thank you so very much for being so vulnerable with us.